Hello, people of the internet, and welcome. My name is Daniel K. Hargrove, also known as Daniel the DM, across all corners of the internet, and this is Yap Session. This is the show where I talk about whatever I want. And let me tell you, we got a couple of things to talk about this week. It's been a while since I've done an episode. I'm excited. We're back. There's a lot to talk about. There's a lot to get into. But before we do any of that, how are you doing? How are you doing? The world's like kind of on fire right now. I said that like every single time I've recorded this episode. But in a time of rising fascism across the globe, I hope wherever you are listening to this, you are safe and finding times of joy. You know what's funny? I've been doing this content creation thing since 2015, but more specifically, this newer iteration is Daniel the DM. I've been doing this since 2023, and it's funny now that I'm starting to gain some traction on YouTube. Seeing comments, people are like, I don't know, it's kind of woke. I'm like, I don't think you I don't think you've seen the things that I've been posting on other social media. This might not be the place for you. Sincerely, go somewhere else. There's always one of the things I never understood. If you don't like someone because of their political beliefs or their commentary on things, why are you watching? You know? Like, just watch something else that, like, makes you happy, brings you joy. That's, like, literally the part of the trap of one of the ways the algorithm gets you in is to keep showing you things that you hate. Like, I don't engage with content that I know I don't like, or content creators I don't like. I always found that odd. An odd behavioral thing that these algorithms promote. But hey, to each their own, as they say. But I hope you're doing well. It's been wild. I've had a lot of ups and downs behind the scenes. Let me tell you, a lot of like exciting things happening and prospects and opportunities, but then also like doors getting shut in your face, and then just trying to survive every day, just in general in the world, all the stuff that we have to deal with. Taking it day by day, especially since I just finished getting sick again. So that was not a pleasant experience, but I'm here. I survived. I'm alive. We're doing another episode of Yap Session. But listen, before we get into the housekeeping and get into our topics for this week, I did want to talk a little bit about some of the stuff I've been watching, listening to. I saw Superman with my wife. Oh, it was so good. Oh, it was good. Let me tell you, it was good. David Cornsweet. I don't know. I've only watched like a couple interviews. Very great job doing this portrayal of Superman. I thought he was fantastic. I just loved that movie, man. It was so good. I'm surprised how much I enjoyed the movie, because I really normally don't like James Gunn's work. His work is normally very hit or miss for me. Like I feel like his sincerity falls flat for me in his work. Like everything feels so contrived and artificial. But I thought he knocked it out the park with Superman. So that was really good. My wife loved it. Oh my God, Taylor loved that movie. I had her crying at the end, man. Had us both crying. It was a beautiful film. Music. Listen to the music. Jid dropped an album. That was great. Clips dropped an album shortly after. Or no, Clips dropped first, then Jid, and then Chance dropped. I mean, it's just been wonderful. I know Joy Badass dropped. You also have God, Kid Cudi dropped something. It feels like the 2010s. It feels like we're back in the 2010s, right? Like all of these 2010s artists is dropping. Just had Kendrick drop. Drake's about to drop. Just like, what decade are we in right now? Maybe this is one of those signs of recession, right? Is that what this is? That's what the kids like to call it. It's recession music. That's why it's happening. They're feeding you nostalgia to keep you distracted. Right in circuses. Hey, music's been good. I don't know what to tell you. Don't get upset with me. I'm having a good time. Yeah, just some really good projects. I think, yeah, very interesting, especially on with Chance's lyrics on there were really good. Really, really good. I liked a lot of the messaging he was doing there. I think his messaging stuck with me more than what Jid was trying to say, even though he was being very overtly preachy with his message. But still, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it greatly. That's what I've been watching. That's what I've been listening to. Been playing some Wuthering Waves. Oh, God. Gotcha games. They've sunken their teeth into me again. And it's been a good time. I can't deny it. I pulled out, what's their name? Augusta? It's a good time. Good time. Big lady, big sword. Me liking. I'm a simple man. But listen, we've got housekeeping to get done. Okay? I wrote all my show notes down on an envelope, on the back of an envelope I'm going to throw away. That's the type of ship we're running around here. Okay? And I have a laptop right in front of me, but I wanted to write it down. It makes me feel more in tune when I'm physically writing down what I want to be thinking about. But listen, yeah, we got a lot of housekeeping to go through. Right off the bat, projects we're working on, things we've been a part of, all that sort of stuff. So let's get to it. Starting an actual play. I'm starting an actual play. We film this week. We start filming. I am incredibly excited, but I cannot give you any more details other than that because I just want to keep things very tight-lipped until it is time to reveal everything. It is time to talk about the cast, the setting, all that sort of stuff. So when the time is right, I will give more details, but I am going to be doing like essentially a vlog series in the meantime. So or not necessarily like a vlog, just documenting my experience, I guess like a journal. But I'm doing like a video journal to just document my experience of what it's going to be like producing my own actual play. And GMing it. And so, hey, we're about to see how it's going to go. So I released my first episode of that, and I'm going to make every single part of this series free and just a part of the Patreon, even to the free tier, not just a paid tier. So everybody is getting access to that. So that's available. And if you haven't checked it out, go ahead and check it out. It's pretty neato, burrito, at least in my opinion. All right. But that's what we got going on with the starting an actual play. So very excited. Check out the Patreon video. And wait, hold on. What are we saying? Speaking of Patreon, shout out to all the new patrons here over on Patreon, be it the free tier or be it on any of the paid tiers. I greatly appreciate you being here and dedicating some of your time, money, attention to supporting this. I am really, really appreciative, especially most of you are coming over from YouTube. So thank you. Wow. I greatly appreciate your patronage. And remember, if you want to get this podcast early and other content early and exclusive things, join the Patreon, pay whatever you like and pay whatever you feel is the most affordable for you. Don't break the bank. Don't break anything. Don't break open the penny bank on my account. Okay. You just do whatever you feel is within your means. Everybody gets the same amount of content, no matter the tier. You just pay what you think the content is worth. We keep it simple. Keep it simple. But with that being said, we got some good news. We got a string of good news to talk about because I'm officially partnered on YouTube. Soon we'll be running ads on the channel once we reach, I think it's 4,000 view hours, but we crossed the 3,000 threshold. So now membership is available. If you join the membership, I will probably just have it set to where you're able to get the early access to videos as well, just like on Patreon for some of the videos. But beyond that, thank you. This is wild. We're almost at 2,000 subscribers on YouTube, and I've mentioned before that I've done YouTube in the past. I've been a content creator in some way, shape, or form since 2015. So to be in this position, and with TikTok and Instagram and all of the other things that I've done online, this is the most success I've ever seen at attempting this. So I am greatly appreciative for this. I've been able to work with incredible people, incredible sponsors. If you want to sponsor the podcast, hey, hit your boy up. But this is wonderful. And it's everything's kind of been happening all at once behind the scenes for a whole bunch of stuff that I still can't talk about, unfortunately. But a lot of great things have lined up that have been flooring me. And from the beginning of when I decided to come back from like a long break from content creation, because I went through a very severe depression from things not working out prior. One of the things I just said was my only goal with content creation is just to support my family. That's my only goal. I don't have bigger aspirations of, well, what about production companies and millions of this, and what if you got this and that and we're able to afford to do that? Listen, if I can make sure my family's taken care of, that they got a roof over their heads, food in the fridge, and clothes on their back, then I have accomplished everything that I set out to do with this. And then anything from that point on is just extra. So that's all there is to it. And I'm greatly appreciative for all of this. So I do not take it lightly. I do not take it for granted. Comparison is the thief of joy. And it is attempted a couple of burglaries of just trying to look at certain things like, yeah, but you haven't reached this milestone and this or that. This opportunity hasn't opened up. But that immediately having to shut that down, because what I've been able to accomplish, what others have helped me to be able to accomplish, is incredible. So thank you. Thank you for being here. I truly mean that. It's very hard to put into words, but this means a lot to me. So thank you. So here we are. We're here on YouTube and we're doing the thing. We've got the motion and I'm keeping it pushing, and that's what we're going to do. But seriously, if you're still watching my content on TikTok, now is the time. Now is the time to move over to YouTube. Traction's been going very well. I'm getting to make content that is more engaging, more fulfilling. I'm still putting out short form, but I have more creative freedom now to be able to push what I'm able to create. I've been able to do video essays on there prior. I've now have the podcast in full effect, so if you're watching TikTok, okay, if you're coming from my TikTok content, it's time to come over. It's time to come over now. There's 18,000 of you. Get in here, okay? Get in here. Get in the comments, as Brennan Lee Mulligan would say. But regardless, I appreciate all this, all the general notoriety, the people I've interacted with in this space. It's been wild. It's been wild, and I'm very, very grateful. So thank you. But that's not all. We've got more good news going on, because I don't know how else to say this, but I'm going to PAX Unplugged. I got accepted with the creator badge. I've never applied for anything as a content creator at all when it comes to getting into events and all that sort of stuff. I just submitted it the day that it went out, and I got it. I got the message in my email, and I'm very, very grateful for it. Now the only thing is, I need to find a way to get to PAX Unplugged now. That's a whole thing. So, yes, I will have links in my link tree for you want to donate directly and all that sort of stuff. But I would prefer, the easiest way to do it is to just go on Twitch and do live streams. So starting when you're seeing this video, I'll be trying to do daily Twitch live streams and just rather use like the AdSense or something like that to be able to do it. You don't have to donate. I don't want people to feel compelled to donate on my behalf just because there's so many other things going on in the world. If you want to donate, I would prefer that you, if you have the means, to first donate to things like the links in my bio. You will see a list of charity organizations that are trying to help people in Gaza and to get people out and to provide aid to families in need. So I would prefer you do that. I would prefer you send money first to the people who are suffering in Sudan and the Congo. There are so many other people who are more deserving of help and aid, and this is small buckets. I would prefer that if you know, to watch the Twitch streams. I'm bad at this, asking and putting stuff out there and just saying like, hey, you know, letting the universe do what it does, and I don't know, reaching out and inviting in other people's kindness. I don't know. That sounds like something I got to work on in a room with a licensed professional. But regardless, thank you. And I really am trying to get my wife and I to PAX Unplugged so we can see all of our friends and play games, hopefully be a part of some panels. That would be amazing. And go from there. And also we have to make sure our doggo is taken care of while we are out of town, because we live not anywhere close to Philadelphia. So that is something we have to take into consideration. So I'm trying to get there, and I want to see all my friends in person. That would be amazing. So, you know, whatever means you got, if none at all, and you've already spent stuff to donate to charity organizations first, come hang out in the Twitch streams, right? That's just twitch.tv/Daniel the DM. Okay. Go there. just watch stuff. I'd rather you do that. That makes me feel more comfortable, but I'm not going to say no to direct donation sort of stuff. But I think that's enough. Enough of that. I'm sweating. Sweating. I don't like doing this. Anyways. God, it makes me so uncomfortable, man. Where does it come from? You know? Maybe it's like I don't know if it's like a trauma response. I don't know, I can't ask for help. You know? Maybe it's like that pull you up by the bootstraps, silly ass mentality. I don't know. Yeah, I think I have a real bad problem with that. I have a problem with just asking for help instead of just saying, hey, I have a problem with asking for help. And instead what I end up doing is just saying, hey, I will perform some form of labor in order to earn your kindness. I don't know, it's probably fucked up. I'm not gonna lie to you. That's probably fucked up. But I mean, I don't know. That's just how my brain works, and it makes me uncomfortable just being like, asking for basic help. I don't know. It's a problem. It's probably some unresolved things I gotta unpack. Sounds rooted in masculinity. Probably it probably is something in that. I don't know. I'll have to figure that out. Yeah, you're watching an existential crisis in real time. That's life. It's weird, man. Life's weird right now, dude. I am super excited about all this stuff, but again, like, the world's on fire. Like, it is, we live in very odd states of being right now. So I feel like my problems, and I've got real problems of things I'm dealing with, but like, in the grand scheme of things, I look at other things going on in the world, and I feel like asking for the things that I need feels so minuscule in comparison to those who are under attack and being harmed, and literally being harmed by my own existence in the fact that I pay my taxes. So, God, fuck, man, sucks. 'Tis life. Something, something, something. Insert quote to make things feel better, make things up. I don't know, but listen, talk about some tabletop stuff, right? A little ASMR for you. All right, calm down. Hey, listen, the bills got rough. All right, I might have to open up. Let me stop. Listen, man. The bills get rough, man. You look. Don't judge me if I start reading some Hannibal fan fiction, dog. Don't blame me, bro. Well, what is it that you're doing here? You shouldn't be in my office this late at night. Chat, should I be reading this? Look, you gotta do what you gotta do. You gotta find your hustle, okay? You gotta find your hustle. All right. You do what you can to survive in late stage capitalism. But listen, back to the docket, the stuff at hand. On to the next topic, housekeeping with the shows that I'm starring in currently when it comes to tabletop stuff, RPG stuff, actual play stuff. Listen, Mythos University just concluded. Mythos University, our Crit Award nominated series, came back for a season 2, just wrapped on season 2, and I need you to hear me when I say this. Check out episode 1 of season 2. I need you to go and check out episode 1 of season 2. I need you to see how incredible this cast is. I need you to see how amazing this story is, how funny it is, how heartfelt it is. But more also on top of that, I need you to see the amazing amount of work that Justin, the GM of our game, has put into this production. They did the GMing, they did the editing, they did so many things behind the scenes of creating these fourth wall breaking videos that played during the episode that we got to watch and we got to react to. The things that they're doing on social media and trying to revamp the way that we look at content and put this artistic flair to talking about tabletop. I need you to go over and check out what they've done. That's So You Want to Be a DM, okay? Check it out on TikTok. See those amazing shorts and skits. Check it out on YouTube. See those episodes. Check out episode 1. Listen to the sound effects. Listen to the music going on. The amazing intro that they created. Listen, I need you to go check it out. Justin and is just so incredibly talented and dedicated, and so is Taylor. He is incredible. Who's the other member of So You Want to Be a DM, the other founder. And I need you to check out what they're doing. They're doing some incredible stuff. And it's always such a joy to get to work with Justin. They are absolutely incredible. So is Taylor. Taylor's such an underrated actor and performer in tabletop. And I know he's just like, what you talking about? I'm not like that. I just show up, man. And then he does an amazing job. So please show them some love. Show that production some love. Super proud of that show. And, we'll see what happens. In the future with the characters of Mythos, but you gotta watch season 2 first, to see where that goes. But that's not the only production. We got 2 more to talk about. All right. And then we'll get into main topics. All right. We've got Bitten, our daggerheart actual play set in a zombie apocalypse. 6K, baby. 6K. We are approaching 6K. Yeah. 6,000 views on that first episode. Absolute cinema. If you're listening to this like a podcast, I leaned back and held up both of my palms towards the camera and made the absolute the absolute cinema pose. Sorry, my brain reset for a second there. Jeez Louise, that messing up those words messed me up. But listen, thank you for all the support for Bitten. It's been incredible. I know I've been saying a lot of thank yous, but listen, it's been a while since I've done a Yap session, so, and there's a lot that has happened since then. You all do not understand the amount of doors that you are opening with your support, with your care, with your love, with your sharing, your comments. You guys, I wish I could tell you what your support has done for us. And one day we will. But it does not go unnoticed. And we are so grateful. Because listen, let me get real for a second. That table and that group, and I especially want to include Oh Hello Mayor as a part of that group of performers that I could play at a table with them until the end of time. Right? I know that sounds dramatic. I know that sounds a little hokey, but genuinely sometimes you are just at that table and everything clicks and you're like, oh, this is what I've been missing. Oh, this is firing on all cylinders. And I'm not saying that I haven't played with such incredible and amazing, talented performers before and haven't had amazing tables before prior. That's not what I'm saying. Sometimes you get that magic. You know what I mean? Sometimes you just get that magic. You get that unidentifiable, intangible spark that goes between people at a table, and I just feel that magnetism when I'm there with that group of players. And yeah, they've become incredible friends that I could depend on and rely on, and they're just such incredible people to get to spend time with and to be in community with. And yeah, every time there is any modicum of success or accolades that comes their way, I am cheerleading it on because I'm so incredibly proud of every single person at that table. And I would not trade that table. I wouldn't trade that group for anything in the world. They are precious to me, and they are incredible human beings. So I love them very much. So check out Bitten and stay tuned for more information about Bitten Season 2, because we will return. It will be sooner than you think. I can't say when, but we will return for Season 2, and it's going to be good. It's going to be really good. But with that being said, last but certainly not least, Fears and Fortunes has returned for Season 3, which premieres over at twitch.tv/Forgotten Adventures every Wednesday at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Let me tell you, gang, this is one heck of a horror show. Last week's episode was, it was rough, dog. we were getting dropping 40 feet, getting lit on fire, getting attacked by mannequins, dog. It was rough. I got hit with a telekinesis. I flew 50 feet. I play a tank, right? So I play an Eldritch Knight fighter that I turn into a tank. I took at least like 30 something hits or something like that. It feels like 20 or 30 hits I tanked through and only healed like once or something like that. So, hey, build is going great, but it was so stressful because, yeah, sure, it's great that I'm not getting hit and I'm able to whack things a whole bunch of times because I'm a two-weapon fighter. But let me tell you who it wasn't great for. My friends who were being attacked and or dying, and trying to get to them and rescue them and get them into more advantageous positions and think strategically about how I can assist them when I'm farther away. It was such a stressful time, and it's like that hallmark of, oh gosh, that episode was just like a hallmark of what makes great combat and what makes combat engaging. even for someone who has a strong build, because I never felt like we were winning, right? And I think that is the key to being able to craft an engaging combat. It doesn't matter how overpowered your players are. If you can make them feel like they're not winning or they might not win, that's the trick, that's the illusion that gets them into having a good time no matter what, right? Like you could be sitting there as the GM and you're thinking to yourself like, oh, dude, I don't know, man. They're thrashing this, they're doing that, and all that sort of stuff. But if you could pull off that veil and that illusion, and whether it is real or not, how much danger they're in, or how much the possibility is of them failing whatever the objectives are of that combat engagement. Let me tell you, man, if you could pull it off, everybody's having a good time. And we're having a good time every Wednesday over at twitch.tv/Forgotten Adventures at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time with Fears and Fortunes presented by the good folks over at Forgotten Adventures. You see how I do an advert on the fly like that in the middle of a podcast? Baby, you would have thought I rehearsed it. And I didn't. But that's it. All right. That's all the housekeeping. And let's get into some topics. Let's get into our main topics for today's episode of Yap Session. It's gonna be a TTRPG episode, right? We're talking TTRPG stuff. I'm having a good time playing some games. I've had some experiences that I'm ready to relay. So let's hop into it. We've got a lot to cover, a lot of daggerheart stuff I want to talk about. So recently I did a one shot and a little offline one shot, and I got to try out the worst class in daggerheart according to Reddit. I feel like that should be the asterisk. According to Reddit, this is the absolute worst class in all of daggerheart. But I played the assassin, which is a part of the new Void, which is like their Unearthed Arcana, right? The unreleased, the playtest material. So I got to play an assassin, an executioner subclass in a offline one shot. And I'm happy to report it's really good, man. I think this, as someone who's normally like a wizard main or a fighter main or something like that, this fulfills a specific fantasy for me that I absolutely love. The assassin class is John Wick. Okay, the assassin's class is John Wick. I keep hearing people say, "Oh, but why didn't they just make the assassin a part of a subclass for the rogue?" No. You're not listening. You're not understanding. You're missing the forest for the trees. You are failing to engage with the idea that the builds that can come out and the character concepts that can come out of the assassin are very specific. It's like and the reason I bring up John Wick as the example, because it brings up the idea of someone who, yes, can do stealth, but they don't care if they're in stealth or not. They're going to try to kill you. That is the whole entire point. And they will hit very hard. And under the certain conditions, they will be able to, do with their ambush, which is like their version of sneak attack, right? And they will, with pinpoint accuracy and lethality and being able to do double damage at the first time they do damage at the start of combat, they are there to rip things apart. And I feel like the entire character concept is being missed because everyone's just like, but why isn't it just a rogue? Like, no, expand your mind, okay? Expand your mind beyond it just being a rogue. Like, think of, again, you think of an executioner, you can think of someone like a big, as the subclass, you think of someone with like a big heavy axe, right? And like the garb over their head or something like that. And they're like chopping down. An executioner is going to get hit hard. They're going to hit heavy. But they don't care about stealth, and you can build that sort of build with the freedom that's allotted through the character creation process in daggerheart. So I think it is very flexible in that regard, and you can play them as someone who's like a keep away character. You can play them as someone, or like more so like a hit and run sort of character, a long range character. I think the class heavily favors a hit and run ranged build, a lot kind of like, a ranged John Wick sort of build, which we'll get further into that. However, You can still build a heavy melee in your face person, or you can build this sneaky, shadowy, sticking to the rooftops sort of assassin who, uses the shadows or uses poisons and all these different things. But listen, so for my build, I did the executioner, I did assassin. I wanted to play them as a melee sort of assassin, someone who is a dual wielding, getting up in the mix, and is like going for the vital points, finds the biggest guy in the room. I think originally I did do dual wielding, but instead I chose a grappler on the offhand and then an Uruk broadsword, because that worked off of finesse, which is your spellcasting modifier for the assassin. And so that was kind of the build that I ended up going with. Someone who only used shadow abilities for like making enemies vulnerable was the main thing. But for the most part, I took things from the Blade, I believe it is, domain. It's a Blade Midnight domain is what you get for the assassin. So I mostly took most of the Blade abilities because I wanted them to be that martial sort of character. And for the most part, I think it worked fairly well. I think the class abilities are very fun. Even the one where you're trying to get in and get out of a building, and you could ask your GM for advice and all that sort of stuff by spinning a hope. I think that worked. I think that was interesting. I think it was engaging. I like the class ability of spending hope to get rid of stress. Very, very cool. I like ambush. However, I think that's where the pain point is for me personally. And I think one of the funniest things about this, I think Assassin is so far the hardest class I've had to try to make a build for. Because it is so resource like hungry for stress in almost every single thing that you do, from your class abilities to so much stuff requires stress that it feels like you don't always get to live the fantasy that the class is trying to present, because you're constantly having to weigh if it's worth doing the cool stuff that your class does because of the stress, right? And I think I played an Infernus, I think an Infernus human or something like that. I probably should have pulled up the character sheet, but it is what it is, right? So I had this build, and we're just doing this one shot, but man, I think we started off immediately. We get into combat. By the end of that first combat, from activating my ambush or to make them make the roll, to spinning a stress to give max damage, so that it got double damage on max damage on the first strike, to I think I spent a stress to move or something like that. I can't remember if I spent a stress on something else, but I was racking up stress quick. And then there was stress on top of what enemies were causing stress. And then I have a low armor slot count because, I'm playing someone who's kind of trying to be quick and all that sort of stuff. So because of that, in order to preserve armor slots, once per rest, I could spend 2 stress to use that to reduce the threshold of damage as compared to my armor slot. So immediately I was hurting, and we were level 4. Like, I was hurting pretty quickly. And so, and we get into events going on in the story, and then we have to start making saving throws. The environment starts messing with you with different hazards and all that sort of stuff. It's hard out here for a pimp. And if you were rolling really poorly, like I was when it came to generating hope, it's rough, because spending 3 hope is the way to clear that stress reliably, because you're not really going to get a lot of abilities that are going to do that for you. So, and the reason I bring up like why it was so difficult to make an assassin was because immediately, man, like if you're not prioritizing something that like making your choices of race and or sorry, your ancestry and your like equipment and all that sort of stuff. And if you're not balancing those things correctly, you're going to immediately run into a situation where you're setting yourself up for disaster, where you're going to have a character who's immediately going to be max stress, immediately going to be vulnerable. And then there's no guarantee that their cool stuff is going to go off. And I think that's my main point of contention with the ambush is I can't imagine like you're so limited on your resources and it's so limited when it comes to stress. And then to activate the condition for your ambush, it's not even guaranteed, right? It's not even guaranteed that you're going to get the extra damage, but you're still spending a hope. And that's, I mean, spending a stress, and that's rough, man. Hey, editing Daniel here. Another thing that I forgot to mention in this video, God, why am I so blurry? But another thing I forgot to mention in the podcast was that the saving throw aspect of activating the ambush is really the main thing. And I think I forgot to mention that when I went on this long rant about the class was the saving throw, if there was a way to guarantee the effect landing maybe once per day or something like that, or at least once to where you knew you could activate it, I think would be make it feel better or something. I don't know. Something about the saving throw aspect really feels off. That's another part of it. It's rough. It's rough, bro. So I'm struggling to reconcile with that. And I've been like racking my brain ever since we played like about a week or two ago. But I've been like racking my brain about like recommendations of like what would make that feel better, and I'm not quite sure what the answer is to that. I know the number one answer that is to like don't make this a rogue subclass. Don't just get rid of this. Like the assassin has so much potential and it's really, really fun. But there just needs to be a way. Maybe it's you change the condition that it takes to get ambush, you know, in order to activate it, but still making sure that it doesn't rely on stealth because that's part of the fantasy, right? That you're lethal no matter the circumstances, right? So, because everything else feels great, the double damage feels great, and it's like, well, if I'm getting double damage, of course, the first instance, if I can't control when my double damage activates in a combat, right? I would like to be able to guarantee my ambush is going to come out or be activated when I get that strike. So it's like, okay, do I set them up with some sort of poison or disadvantage or find some way to reduce their reaction roll? I mean, maybe. I don't know, man. I feel like there's got to be something. And I don't want to say, I don't think getting rid of stress as the resource that is spent is the solution, because I think that's still a key part of the class. But I feel like you have to find a way to balance what it takes to activate ambush better, or in some different form or fashion. Because if you do that, then the class will truly feel like high risk, high reward. And right now, it just feels like high risk and some reward sometimes. You know? So like I feel like there's a way to do it. I feel like there's a way to do it. I don't quite know what the answer is game design wise. But I really hope they don't give up on it. I think like we're almost there. There's like this sweet spot it could hit. I feel like we need to take a look at that as the main thing. Because if every single card that I'm going to be getting from my domain, specifically more so the blade as compared to Midnight mostly uses hope. But for the most part, if you're going to truly want to be an assassin, you're going to want to be saving your hope in order to clear stress so that you can be more of an assassin. So like there is a little bit of that balance beam there, but not quite, especially because hope is not as valuable to you as an assassin, because sure, some of your shadowy stuff relies on it, but at the end of the day, besides the benefits that you do get from those shadow spells, which are really good, like causing enemies to be vulnerable or you to be able to be hidden, which will give you advantage on your attacks and give them disadvantage on attacks on you, etc., etc., etc. At the end of the day, I still think we got to figure something out. Like we got to figure something out. Like I'm just kind of at odds on what the solution is, but I really like the class. I think that's just kind of where it stands for right now, until something more comes of it. But I think they have really good bones to work with here. And then I also played another one shot. I played a level 5 wizard, the war wizard. Oh my god. Oh my god. That was so much fun. Because I essentially got to play them as like a blade singer. Because by the time you get to level 5, and if you choose to advance your mastery of the subclass at level 5, man, you get the protective bubble, which is like the blade song. So your evasion skyrockets from what it was prior, and you're harder to hit. Your spells are incredible. The spells for the codex are amazing. So I'm having such a fun time playing that subclass. And it wasn't my character that I play for Bitten. It was an entirely separate character that we drew up for this offline one shot. But man, level 5, like the game opens up in such an incredible way. The way they handle multiclassing is just phenomenal. With being able to gain benefits up to half of the level that you're currently at of the other class. Brilliant. I love it. So I am just kind of in this position where I am looking forward to coming back for Bitten and to getting to level 5, because man, the level 5 wizard is incredible. It truly feels like that thing of like, if you cut the levels in half in D&D, that's what it feels like to play a daggerheart character. Like genuinely, I'm doing things as a level 5 wizard in Daggerheart that I would be doing as like a level 10 to 14 or like 10 to 12 in something like D&D. Like the ability to be able to stop time on an object, and then they have to roll to be able to move that object, or it stays in place for until I take another rest. Ugh. It's amazing. So yeah, my experiences that I've been having playing Daggerheart and testing out these characters and testing out these builds has been really, really good. I think the thing now that's kind of peaking and showing is that I need more items. I think this game, especially, I think Daggerheart desperately needs more weapons. Bring in more weapons from different cultures. I want to see African, Asian influences, all that sort of stuff. I want to see weapons from all across the world. I want to see weapons from different genres and all that sort of stuff. Like this game would benefit so heavily from it because of the features and traits that can be applied to the weaponry in this game. And they're balanced to a certain way where if you get certain weapons of a certain rarity a bit early, in some cases it won't be game breaking. But there's just so many interesting things that could happen of applying different effects to different weapons that's already built into the core mechanics of the game. I think would be so engaging. Like I really hope, especially in the third party space as well, like that is a very good market of not just the magic items, but just basic weaponry in general. I think would be really, really interesting, and giving them different attributes as well. And also re-examining some of the burdens of some of them are a bit much with certain minuses to evasion and all that sort of stuff, and etc. And sometimes the benefit doesn't really match up with the thing that's being lost. You know what I mean? But hey, it is what it is. But regardless, I really, really like it. I really like what I've been playing. I enjoyed my experience with the assassin. I enjoyed my experience with the level 5 wizard. It's really good. Also, if you want to play Gojo, from Jujutsu Kaisen and Daggerheart. It's actually really easy. You just need to play a war wizard, and then you just don't have a weapon in your hand. That's it. Like, they give you power push, which is like, you know, like a whole bunch of infinity sort of stuff. And then, well, you literally get infinity as an ability, kind of, if you want to reflavor it that way. When you get to level 5, you get essentially what's akin to the Blade Singer's bubble or shield, where you're adding onto your evasion, or how hard to hit you are, or what would be your armor class in Dungeons and Dragons. You're adding that onto the overall score, so your evasion goes up. You're incredibly hard to hit. You can reflavor that as infinity, and then or at level 5, you can end up multi-classing into fighter or brawler, I think it is, and be able to do some hand-to-hand combat. But regardless, you could still be able to do hand-to-hand combat because of the fluidity that Daggerheart gives you with being able to do your stats. So the difference would be negligible whether or not your best stat is your spell casting, or whether or not your best stat is what you'd be using to bonk people in the face. So it's actually really easy to make a lot of character builds in this game, because it's really fluid and it's really open. So it's not hard at all to make any of these classes, and then you just pick the spells that you feel like matches the character that you're trying to recreate. And then you go in and, you know, you mark the scores, and that's about it. But if people want me to actually put together a full-on video of me, you know, making the build, I'll totally do that. Just let me know, and I'll make it. But it's pretty straightforward. Building characters, pop culture characters, is pretty straightforward in Daggerheart. But on to the next topic. I kind of wanted to bring up something that I thought was interesting. Because I was thinking about like spells and all that sort of stuff, and all of these games, and coming up with my own spells, interesting experiences that I've had with spells and Dungeons and Dragons and in Daggerheart. And I wanted to talk about which fireball is better between D&D and Daggerheart. Now, I know like everyone's gonna have their own preferences for which one they're gonna end up preferring, but I think it's interesting to analyze how the fireball is tackled in both games, because it's a staple of the fantasy genre of someone being able to just blow up an entire room, no questions asked. And it's so interesting to see how both of those games end up handling fireball and their differences, because I think it speaks more so to the systems that are at play. Because when you look at D&D, it's just the raw power of it in simplicity, right? It's just your 8d6s, I believe, and you grab them all in your hand, and it feels nice, and then you throw it on there, and then you hit a massive radius of enemies, and then you roll a bunch of 1s and 3s, and you're like, oh God, no, the median's 25, no, why God, why? Like everybody else does, you know what I mean? But listen, I think the fireball is classic in D&D for a reason, because it perfectly fits that power fantasy and that power spike of being a well-worn mage, as someone who's got experience behind themselves, and they actually have some weight behind what they're casting. So I think there is an iconic element in there, and mechanically it fits that perfectly, and it's simple, just a saving throw. Regardless, you still take damage. One of the interesting things is when you start looking at Daggerheart. And I think the way Daggerheart handles fireball is a clear expression of Daggerheart's desire for the players to put their creativity and their own spin and on a spell and on what they're doing in the game, and giving a lot of freedom to manipulate what that spell is in order to have it fit you personally, right? And for those who haven't played Daggerheart yet, but have played D&D, essentially it actually works like Melf's Minute Meteors is actually the better, or is it just Minute Meteors? I forget which one it is. Sometimes they reprint spells and it's just they add on the name of a wizard from the Lord. Don't get me started. Regardless, it's like the Meteor spell, where essentially you roll to a certain degree, where you roll to see if you hit with aiming your fireball. And if it does hit, then it explodes and it hits everything within a smaller radius. I believe it's like 10 feet or something like that in daggerheart, which is a big difference. However, you roll d20s for the damage. And I think by the time that you get the spell, I believe your proficiency bonus can be, I believe your proficiency bonus is 2. So you roll 2d20 for the damage die. Obviously much less dice, but you can get a much, much, much higher number in that regard, you know? Or at least I believe so. Yeah, because yeah, you can get a higher number than you could in Dungeons and Dragons. So yeah, that's kind of the difference that you end up having there. And then everyone surrounding that person also has to make a saving throw within that 10 feet. So that's kind of how the spell is set up. But I think what makes it unique also in Daggerheart is the way that you can manipulate Fireball. Because even as a part of what the base wizard gets is another spell called Parallella, which is super cool, where you can copy any spell or ability or attack that a person does. You can make them repeat it and hit a separate target nearby. So oftentimes what my character is doing in our Daggerheart actual play is he's casting Parallella on himself, and I kind of have it like he's like flavor-wise, he makes like a shadow copy of himself. Ooh, so edgy. And then they both cast Fireball at the same time, but at different targets. But I think that speaks to the strength of Daggerheart. Like it doesn't give you that same iconic feeling of rolling a bunch of dice and then chucking them down onto the table, right? But you get to roll dice that can give you a much higher number, and you can manipulate the spell like crazy. And that's assuming that you haven't multi-classed yet. Eventually, like when you get to level 5, and then let's say you take something like Sorcerer, and then you're able to manipulate the properties of the spell even further. Everything is very malleable. And then there's also doing things like different abilities to be able to increase the damage. There's also using it as a part of a tag team attack, and mixing and matching those properties together to whatever a teammate is doing. So there's a lot of freedom and creativity in the way that you can apply Fireball, even though radius-wise, not as big, but damage-wise, it's still going to hit very, very hard. And eventually, again, it's going to keep outpacing Fireball in Daggerheart as compared. Daggerheart's Fireball is going to keep outpacing Dungeons and Dragons Fireball because, you're going to start getting more D20s, which is so ridiculous to roll for damage. But that's part of the fun about it, man. You can get some wild numbers in Daggerheart, which I love. Doing some team attacks, we've easily hit over 100 damage at like level 3 or 4. So it's such a fun time, man. It is such a good time. But what a nerdy podcast this is. I just sat down and looked at this and I was just like, what am I doing? I'm sitting here for 20 minutes talking about which fireball be fireballing more. That's part of the fun, man. I love doing this stuff. It's interesting. And I know it sounds like a silly discussion, but it is fun to see how mechanically you can take something and what it means for, culturally for the game, culturally for the table and all that sort of stuff, and the iconography that goes along with it. I think it's actually really interesting and opens up really cool discussions about, what makes something iconic or feel good to do at the table, Fun stuff indeed, but we're not done. We've got a new segment I want to start on the podcast called Debate Questions. And yes, that is going to be the music for it. It's just me singing terribly. But this week's debate question is, what is the coolest spell in D&D? Now listen, you might say something like Fireball. You might say something, hey, Wish. That's a cool one. Meteor Swarm. That's awesome. That's neato. I love that for you. However, for my money, there's another spell. And that is going to be Steel Wind Strike. Now, if you are not familiar with Steel Wind Strike, hold on. I have to get this right. I gotta make sure I pull this up on my phone, because I need you all to bear witness to the description of this spell. Okay, we're pulling it up now. Steel Wind Strike. Casting time 1 action, range 30 feet, instantaneous duration. You flourish the weapon used in the casting and then vanish to strike like the wind. Choose up to 5 creatures you can see within range. Make a spell attack against each target. On hit, a target takes 6d10 force damage. Sorry, my phone went blank for a second. The battery's dying. We're gonna get through this. You can then teleport to an unoccupied space. You can see within 5 feet of one of the targets you hit or missed. Now, you might hear that description and your mind might start going wild, and you might start saying to yourself, "Whoa, well, that sounds like an interesting spell," but you're not seeing the forest for the trees. You don't realize the spell that I just described is Judgment Cut. From hit series Devil May Cry, Virgil's titular attack, where he animate teleports across the field, an attack that has been replicated so many times throughout video game history. You see it in anime, you see it in, what was it, Miyabi from Zenless Zone Zero. Every single character from Genshin's a ripoff of Virgil. You have Blade in Marvel Rivals has that attack. Steel Wind Strike is an anime move in Dungeons and Dragons, and it is so sick. And anytime I play a wizard, I always take that spell because it is so sick, and you get to roll a bunch of dice. And if you crit, because that's the sauce, you cast greater invisibility upon yourself prior. You start crit fishing, baby. And if you crit 12, 10, I love it. There's nothing like it. Put it straight in my veins. To me, that is the coolest spell in D&D. I don't think there's any beating it. Just for the flavor, the visuals that go between it, describing what that looks like for your character and the flourish of it. I think my favorite way I've ever described it was we did a level 21 shot, and I was playing a wizard. They weren't a blade singer, I believe, but I still took the spell anyways because I love it. And when I casted it, they were an astral elf. So when I described it, I said they targeted each enemy like points on a constellation. And then they teleported away, and a line was drawn between each of them. And then he reappeared at the end of the constellation, sheathing his blade. And then all the enemies collapsed. It's just, you can't beat that. I don't think you can beat that. But that's why it's a debate question. So let me know in the comment sections down below, wherever you're watching this, what you think is the best and or coolest spell in Dungeons and Dragons. Let me know. And you know, that's a debate question. That's what we're leaving off of. We got to leave off on some friction. But listen, ladies and gentlemen and non-binary individuals of the audience, I appreciate your time. My people of the internet, I appreciate you being here for another episode of Yap Session. It's so wonderful being here. We're back, baby. Big things are happening. Big things, man. Big things, man. Big things are happening, man. I appreciate you being here. Thank you to the patrons. Shout out to them. Help the people around you. Be there for the people around you. I appreciate you being here. All right. Make sure you like, subscribe, tell your friends about the show, tell your friends about the Patreon over at patreon.com/Daniel K. Hargrove. Again, thank you all for being here. This is a fun time. I'll see you all next week. Maybe we should do like a fan topic. Let me know if you have a suggestion for a topic in the comment sections. Especially, I guess Patreon will get to decide that first, if someone on Patreon has made it to the end of this video. If not, then that's up to YouTube to decide now. What might be a topic for next week. So leave a possible topic. Something you want to know my opinion on. Well, with that being said, thank you so much for watching. I appreciate you being here. My name is Daniel K. Hargrove, also known as Dana the DM across all corners of the internet. I will see you all later. Be kind to yourself. Be kind to others. And remember that joy in and of itself is an act of revolution. Peace.